Welcome to the Rewarded Consumer Podcast. My name is Michael, and I have a general passion to get more rewards out of my everyday financial activities. I wanted to share this passion with you to help give information on tools that can help get more out of these mundane everyday activities. I am joined today by a group of my friends who also have a similar interest.
Hey, I'm Pete. I'm here to learn and possibly even share useful experiences from my financial decisions as well.
Hi, I'm Stas. I have an interest in technology and finance, so let's explore this world together.
Hi, my name is Jan. I have a technical background, but would like to explore the thoughts that my friends have around financial aspects such as credit cards and other reward programs.
Hey, I'm Alex, aka AG. I'm a novice to cashback consuming, but I'm here to share my experiences and thoughts and hopefully ask some good questions.
Welcome to the Rewarded Consumer Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how our habits have changed during COVID. I know we've talked similar about this, but we're going to kind of go more in depth about how we financially have changed some of our habits in general when it comes to COVID. I mean, it could be doing to our haircuts. It could be doing to like how we go out to eat and all that stuff. So we're just going to have everybody kind of do more of a roundtable today and kind of discuss a little bit more about how we've changed either for the better or for the worse, whatever we all want to say. But as I said, definitely COVID's made a big impact on everybody, and we want to see how we have adapted. I want to welcome Pete, Jan, Stas, and Alex to the program today. Thanks, guys, for joining me.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Stas, I'm going to let you start today because I know you have a topic you really want to talk about.
Oh, are you talking about the haircuts? You know how there was that whole trend about quarantine haircuts? Yeah, I decided to go with it, and Pete actually cut his own hair for a while, even before COVID, so I talked to him about it, got some advice, and started doing that, and so far, it's nice, I like it, and I think I might actually continue doing it even post-COVID whenever that happens, and it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the hair sensei a little bit. I was kind of giving everybody some advice. Where to start with, hair cutting and the settings and all that kind of stuff. I've been dealing with this for probably going a little over 15 years now. So, other than a few professional haircuts in the last 15 years, it's been mostly doing it myself. So definitely was able to give Stas some advice anywhere from there are certain brands that are a little better. Also you kind of have to avoid some of the setups that say that they're for beards and hair. It's probably not the best way to go. It kind of ends up snagging on the hair up top. So you have to be kind of careful with that depending on your hair texture and all that. So it was pretty good to feel like some sort of a need that people, wanted to know about.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it was definitely kind of scary at first. I remember my first one, I had no idea what I was doing, and it's like, I just hope I don't mess it up. And after talking to you and watching some YouTube videos about other people talking about how they do it, and not too bad. I guess also one of the benefits of the quarantine was I didn't go out much, so if I messed up, it didn't matter too much. I had a whole month to grow it out.
Yep. And you'll soon become a little bit better at things like blending and different levels on the sides versus the top, and you can get kind of creative with it, but definitely it is a little scary the first time you try it.
Well, Pete, do you have a recommendation of a brand that you particularly prefer when it comes to hair clippers?
I've had a few over the years. Wall is pretty good. That's kind of what I've generally gotten most of the time. It's not as much about brand as quality. You probably don't want to go much under like $25, $30 for clippers, just because at that point they're usually just not made that well. But yeah, that's generally, and you want to look for, depends on how long you want your hair. If you're going to be doing some hand cutting with scissors and all that, I just generally try to use guards. So that's the way I usually go about it. Just put them on the actual clippers themselves, and it's pretty easy. It's usually a guard from about a half or a 1 to an 8, but you can go up all the way to like 10 or 12 with the guards, and a little bit longer than that. I don't think it's quite by inches. I don't know the exact measurements, how they make those numbers, and they probably do vary from brand to brand, but that's what I would say you look for. So is, the guard numbers and all that. And like I said, you want to get ones specifically for the top of your head. You don't want to get them for beards because they're not going to cut your top hair as well, and they're going to be a little bit small too. The ones for beards are probably almost like 3/4 the size, or don't work as well. I would also recommend a plugged in. I don't prefer the ones that are battery.
Honestly, a lot of times I would say that for most products, especially electronics. Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I took your suggestion too. I had an interesting experience. I'm not going to name the name of the place where I actually got the product from. It was a reputable department store, but when the product did get to me, it was a little delayed, and the product was actually messed up, and it seemed like it had been used. Thankfully, even with not being able to respond to a person, I was able to get them to give me a refund on the product, and I just kept it because it seemed like it was used, and they couldn't prove it wasn't. So they ended up just giving me the product. So I ended up getting a free pair of hair clippers, which I know is kind of crazy, but as I said, the boxes were broken, things that looked like they'd been opened. So I just, I sanitized everything before I actually used it. But it's been been kind of like a little time me and my wife spend together. I sit in the tub and she sits over me and then does the haircut and stuff like that. So it's been a learning together. The only problem we've ever had, I got one little nick. She's going to kill me for even mentioning that in this episode. But you know what? That was all because of me, because I moved a little funky and I moved really weird. So I'm going to blame myself for that whole mess there. And as I said, it's been a great experience. Right now I'm giving up on just going to because I was more of a Great Clips kind of person, or just those inexpensive haircut places, and things can be inconsistent. And in all honesty, if all I have to do is just go to the bathroom and have my wife just cut it, we'll just make a night of it. And all right, cool, we'll get it done. And it saves me probably about $15 at least, and that's over a year, because I probably have to cut my hair about almost every month. That's about $150 worth of savings right there, which that's a pretty substantial amount, especially compared to that. And then eventually, when my son comes around, I could probably cut his hair at some point too. Maybe not at first, because he's probably gonna he'd be all squirmy and stuff like that. So
there's that. Brought up a few good points. I would definitely recommend doing it in a tub versus a chair in any kind of room. I think a tub or a shower is what I found to be. In a bathroom, just the best place. All you got to do is just wipe it up. It's just the easiest place, especially if you're kind of a novice. That's what I would recommend. And also with that, I think it's even less about sometimes the monetary savings. It's just kind of nice to save the time. I feel like getting a haircut, even for a male, can be hour and a half endeavor when it comes to going back and forth from a place, possibly waiting in a small line and all that kind of stuff. So I just got kind of tired of that part of it. That was kind of my reason for making the transition to just doing my own haircuts. I just thought it was just easier.
That was one of my pet peeves before COVID. Was I kept delaying and getting haircuts less often than I should have, not because of money, but just because I didn't want to have to waste the hour and a half driving over to the haircut place, waiting in line, waiting for them to call you just for a quick 10-minute, 15-minute haircut. Again, if someone wants a specialized haircut, yeah, it might be worth it. But for me, just a standard, typical, no frills haircut, it just didn't seem worth to invest so much time into a quick little thing when you can just do it yourself apparently now.
Well, actually, there's another point where I bring up sometimes just inconsistency even with the haircut places, because I actually got a guy one time that told me he was prone to seizures and stuff like that as he's cutting my hair. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I wonder if he was just messing with you or if that's for real.
No, this guy was for real. The guy was a little unstable. Wow. And I'm like he's just telling everybody stuff that, every time I went into that haircut place, I got so many interesting stuff. They were not a bad, it was not a bad place. It's just this one time I got this guy was just creepy, just sitting there, just chilling there. And I said, you ready to get your haircut? I'm like, oh God, this cannot be good. He acted like he was almost just waiting as a customer. I'm like, that's never a good sign.
So there's one maybe not last, but there's one other perspective to add to the whole haircut thing. Up until I moved to the West Coast, I was generally in an area where a good, or what I would consider to be a good barber, was pretty accessible to me. And during those times, I went to barbers where there was a really strong sense of community, and sort of going to the barber shop was not even a thing that people necessarily did when they needed a haircut, but just to hang out with people. So there was a time when going to the barber shop and spending an hour and a half there was actually a break, kind of like going out to the bar with friends or something like that, except not drinking, just talking and having this community, and people would come and go and maybe not even get cuts. But then as I moved away from that and was sort of in areas that are more, I don't know what I would call bougie, then the places to get a haircut, sort of turned more into these, factory type places, like Great Clips type of places where there's, not really a enjoyable community or a consistent patronage, anything like that. So then it just felt like, spending an hour and a half doing that was pretty much worthless. So I had already started cutting my hair since I was in college, because I went to a military academy. So it was a pretty seamless transition. I've been mainly cutting my own hair for years. Mostly either, me or my wife does it now. So I just save the time since there's not sort of like that enjoyable barber experience anymore. It's just kind of like going to a retail place and highly commodified, so it's just not interesting.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Now, I guess since I don't know if the other guys have, but yeah, I've definitely not had that kind of barber or haircut experience ever. So that is a good reason to want to go. Some sense of community or getting out and seeing just people you haven't seen in a while, and that's a great reason to want to go. So there's definitely some different reasons why you actually want to go to the barbershop, and I think that's actually a really good one.
There have been like some arguments people have been having online and stuff about people being crazy and wanting to get a haircut and all of that kind of thing. But, there's also just this underlying, a lot of people want to do stuff that they did or that was normal or have some social connections. So I think that in some people's opinion, when it comes to like opening up and doing things indoors and all of that stuff, that's where it's coming from, like just the desire to socialize versus having a good haircut. So I think that there could be a lot of that perspective in there. It's kind of like that recent South Park episode, if anyone's seen it. It's one of the characters is really going stir crazy because of shutdowns and stuff like that. And he's trying to go to any lengths to just have something to do with his friends outdoors. So it's kind of that thing, at least sometimes.
Yeah, I really think Alex and the guys, I mean, it's, just going to the grocery store now is kind of a trip. I mean, you think about it. Doing anything that was regarded as just a day-to-day activity has become a reason to get ready, get prepared and all that. And Mike, maybe the pandemic, without even realizing it, has kind of prepared you for being a father a little bit, because every time you go out from then on, once the baby's born, you will be getting more prepared than you ever thought you'd gotten prepared before. So,
yeah.
So yeah, the cat's out of the bag, guys. Yes, I have a little one on the way in December. So yeah, that's kind of why COVID's been a lot harder, and we really haven't done much. And I've been more, let's say, a little more stringent about how I do things, because I just can't afford to have anything happen to this little guy. That's it's a great thing that's happened. But what I was going to go back, there was one thing I wanted to say in regards to the barbershop thing. The one thing that you can't get at home, and I would never want my wife to do, was the neck shave. The neck shave is the most amazing thing ever, and it's too bad that no more places don't do that, but I know it's a very highly skilled and has to be carefully executed, or it can be really dangerous.
Stas is the resident expert on that kind of stuff. So Stas, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, what kind of razor were they using? Because like you mentioned, I researched and bought a few of my own razors, both double-sided, double-edge safety razors, and I even have one straight razor blade. So if they use that one, the straight one, that's definitely more dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. But I can see how that would be kind of cool and interesting experience. I wish I'd done that. I've never got around to it. I only know one place in Indy that used to do it, and they closed. So if I ever find another place, I might have to do that someday.
Which place were you talking about?
There
was
a store called The Art of Shaving at the mall, and they sold a lot of higher quality shaving equipment, and they actually shave too. So you can like pay $50, or I think it was kind of pricey, but I mean, it's not something you do every day, and have someone give you a proper shave. That would be interesting. I mean, I've done it myself, but I'm sure it's a very different experience when you can just sit back, relax, and have someone else do it.
Now, Stas, this isn't a plug or anything, but I'm just letting you know there's a place called 459 close to Keystone Mall.
Okay, I'll have to look at that.
And then there's the Greenbrier Barbershop too. Yeah, we're referring to Indianapolis, guys. So originally I'm an Indianapolis-based crew, but now we're all in different locations. You guys, what the heck? Why don't we just tell people where we are? I'm actually in Chicagoland, so a little different perspective there. How about you, Stas? Where are you sitting
Indianapolis.
today?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm in North Denver.
And I'm technically based in Kansas City, but I'm located in Indianapolis today.
That's another thing that's very interesting about COVID. We can, we're all trying to learn how to survive in our own current locations. So next topic I want to talk about is food. It's a fun topic, but it can be a stressful one. And as you said, we start off with the grocery stores. Yeah, you have to prepare to go to the grocery store. It's like a whole ordeal now. And as I noticed, and a lot of people probably have noticed, the pricing at the grocery store has gotten a lot higher. Has anyone noticed that?
Yeah,
especially on meat products.
And guys, let's not forget either, just even takeout has increased at certain places at a hand, and I would definitely know this firsthand. I am the only one out of us who is currently still a furloughed employee, and I have been doing my fair share of the driving apps for DoorDash and for Postmates, and just started with Uber Eats a little bit too. So I definitely have seen firsthand just how very crowded some of these takeout places can get, and how they've kind of changed their business models just enough for the pandemic, and kind of have tweaked how they do their takeout ordering. And it's just a whole machine now what they're doing. I mean, they're doing shelving where they're placing their items and having huge systems and using every resource they can towards their takeout. So it's pretty interesting the way that works.
So is it like you go to a place and it's just packed with delivery drivers?
Yeah, you're seeing delivery drivers 5 deep sometimes. I mean, just waiting on food. I went to a Chipotle once on a Monday rush. It was so slammed. The lines were out the door, but they do like a shelving system, which is a lot of what they're doing, and they even alphabetize because they get so many takeout orders. And they even closed down for takeout orders only partially through the day. And their system went down. That was how crazy it went. So that's just one example. I have many other stories when it comes to that stuff, but I won't talk about that the whole time. But yeah, I mean, these places just weren't set up initially for that, and they've started to basically make that most of their business model.
It's very expensive when you think about all the fees and stuff like that come along with, having the delivery service versus picking up or eating in the restaurant. So it's like adds a lot of hidden costs that people don't know about until they sort of at the checkout cart. Yeah, I wonder how that affects the tips. People get to the cart and then they're like, "Oh, wow, look at these other fees." I don't know if
it does. It does for sure, Alex. Because, what was once considered more of a luxury good, which it still very much is, has become every day for certain people. They might have done a DoorDash or a Postmates or an Uber Eats or a Grubhub, any of those. Who knows? Maybe they did it once, twice a week. And some of these people are doing it 5 times a week now, maybe more. And they're getting everything delivered.
Yeah, and I wonder what they were replacing. Like, how were they eating on a daily basis before then? Maybe just had access to some other external option and it's just gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I kind of split up my eating habits from day to day. I don't know if I was always consistent every week. Some weeks I'd be eating in more, some weeks I'd be eating out more. It was just kind of a combined thing. Sometimes it would be pickup, sometimes it would be dining in. I mean, it really wasn't, I don't know if I didn't have a consistent schedule, but it was just kind of the way it was. I hate to say it, but it was a bit of more of an innocent time. You just didn't overthink it. I mean, I never overthought it.
Of course.
2 weeks ago, I went back to Kansas City just for work, and I just went to add to all the hassle that Alex and Pete mentioned with going to the restaurants. So I met with a few co-workers, and just thinking about it, when you walk into the restaurant, you need to think about bringing the mask nowadays, and some restaurants are also taking a temperature. So it's the hassle that you have to deal with nowadays too. And then there's some long lines in certain restaurants. I'm still surprised people are going and sitting and eating outside. And then from a delivery standpoint, when I was in Kansas City, I usually don't cook when I'm there. So I usually get either Grubhub or just go and pick up something. And I noticed that the prices on the Grubhub for delivery actually raised, like Pete mentioned. So that was kind of something that I didn't notice because I haven't been there for that long since the pandemic started. I've been here in Indy with my parents because my company needs work from home. So all these changes actually are pretty noticeable when you go back to your regular habits.
It's just a change in people's behaviors, as we're noting, guys.
Yeah. Did we talk about before, just even with the groceries or whatever, we felt like we would be saving money on not going out, but it seems like we buy so many groceries. I was having a conversation, I don't know if it was with you all or someone else, but someone mentioned how, I'm just buying so many groceries now, or cost so much to have all of these groceries delivered that it doesn't feel like I'm saving money on food. It feels like I'm spending more money on food.
Alex, at least for me, I know if I were to actually eat my groceries every day like that, I know I'd be saving. But I don't do that. I get takeout and all that kind of stuff too. I mix that up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe because they're getting them delivered, it is expensive, but I don't know. I mean, I've actually never gotten them delivered. I've picked up my fair share of groceries, and some of these grocery places, like I think Walmart does it. There's Publix here in Georgia. There's a few other ones that do it now, and those people are pretty overworked. And guys, we talked about time with waiting for haircuts. I mean, if you ever wait for some groceries at peak hours, I mean, you better have some good games or some good friends to talk to or some work to do or whatever, because you've been waiting there for a while.
Well, guys, I'm going to take a little break here for this episode. We're going to continue this episode in 2 weeks. But as I said, we're going to continue this topic the way it is, and we'll be bringing you more amazing content in the next couple of weeks. So thanks you guys.